Well, thanks again for joining us today on our Analyst Predictions 2016. Next up, we have Olga Yashkova, who's Program Manager with Frost Sullivan. Olga, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
So today we're going to be talking about test and measurement. Specifically, we're going to talk about VoLTE, HetNet, and then SON, and we'll do a little M&A wrap-up, and of course I'm going to ask you for your wildest prediction for next year. But why don't we dive in by talking a little bit about VoLTE and some of the predictions and some of the market trends that you're seeing.
Okay. So VoLTE is expected to enhance profitability of network operators by offering many various other revenue sources through rich communication services, such as video sharing and file transfers. While there is a huge opportunity in incorporating such a technology, there is also a lot of challenges related to quality in VoLTE, and those challenges have to be addressed. So for the communications test equipment community, these challenges provide revenue opportunities to capitalize upon. In our VoLTE test and monitoring equipment market research, we adopted a larger definition of this market. So we're dividing it into 5 areas, and I'm just giving a little bit of background of what went into this research to illustrate these outcomes. So the 5 areas that are in VoLTE test equipment market study are network infrastructure testing, passive monitoring, network monitoring system, active network monitoring systems, drive test equipment, and end-user device test equipment. So all these equipment types are used for different purposes. So if a network infrastructure testing is used primarily for the research and development stage and used primarily by network equipment manufacturers, passive and active network monitoring systems are used, a part of service assurance solutions that are used in post-deployment networks for monitoring live networks. So there is a number of challenges associated with developing VoLTE compliant mobile devices. They include handover-related issues while switching from circuit-switched networks to a complete IP-based networks. So end users could face latency problems when transitioning between area covered by VoLTE to the area in which network coverage is completely different. So it is becoming even more complex when you factor in roaming, and so where a caller moves from a region covered by certain telecommunications regulations policies to a completely different region with completely different sets of policies. Battery life for VoLTE compliant devices still leaves much to be desired, but it is improving. Another challenge for test equipment vendors is that network operator community is extremely price sensitive. So because they have so many competitors that are offering the same services pretty much at pretty good price points, so they have to be price conscious. So over the past few years, their revenue streams have been dented by over-the-top service providers such as Skype, for instance. So VoLTE is meant to change all that by offering superior high-definition voice quality to its customers. And also, as network operators own the network infrastructure, they can incorporate innovative solutions that can test and monitor their VoLTE network infrastructure. As most of the components that constitute the infrastructure are multi-vendor sourced, interoperability becomes an issue here. So when these components need to come together in order to provide exceptional customer service. The carrier community needs innovative testing and monitoring solutions that can pinpoint anomalies in the infrastructure, build-up of different proprietary components in a very short time, and also at very low operating expenses. So they also require effective end-to-end solutions that can test and monitor legacy-based network infrastructure to ensure efficient handover and adequate coverage. Engineering thrown around VoLTE concept of seamlessly moving from licensed spectrum to unlicensed LTE spectrum is a significant challenge for mobile device manufacturers as well. Another challenge is the novelty of the technology. Even though we've been talking about VoLTE for a while already, now it is becoming reality. So network operators cannot afford to take chances of impacting quality of their end-user experience. So they require improved CEM solutions in order to continue provide high quality of service, and especially and among other KPIs. If we look at this slide, I would like to show some numbers from our most recent research. So in 2015, Frost & Sullivan estimated that the total VoLTE testing and monitoring market actually exceeded 600 million mark. And by 2022, this number is expected to exceed 1.7 billion mark.
That's a significant increase.
It is. The market grows extremely fast, and the CAGR of this market is about 17%. I do believe that this trend will prevail in 2016, and we see that according to our predictions, the revenue from VoLTE testing and monitoring market will be a little bit short of 700 million. And
so the whole pie on the left-hand side, what does that represent?
So
that's the whole test and measurement
that's
market.
a whole test and measurement market, and then we see that, actually, I'm sorry, this is the whole LTE test equipment market, and VoLTE-specific test and monitoring market represent this.
Is that smaller slice?
Smaller slice, but it is expected to gain more importance and grow.
And where do you, in 2016, where are we with VoLTE? Are we in the research and development, manufacturing, installation? Kind of where are we in that deployment curve?
We'll still be in research and development, and as technology development progresses and more VoLTE-enabled devices will come into the market, and the network has to be monitored, live network, it will shift more towards installation and maintenance and monitoring.
So right now, it's really R&D both on the network infrastructure testing as well as device testing?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct, yeah.
Got it. And then how does that, you want to move over to the next slide, the international trends, or do you stay on this one for a few more minutes?
Yeah, I would like to move to the geographic trends.
Yeah.
So up till December 2015, there were 40 operators that launched LTE services in 27 countries. And I guess the latest data was there are 75 different VoLTE-enabled devices in the market right now, which is a huge progress from 2 years ago, even from last year. So from the geographic perspective, we see that North America contributed the largest market share, almost 44%. And is the main region that generates the most demand for VoLTE testing and monitoring solutions. A key reason for that being the number of LTE deployments, as well as the rate of adoption of VoLTE technology in comparison to other geographic areas. So network operators such as AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, they are the driving force behind VoLTE testing, adoption of VoLTE test and monitoring equipment. So while North America is a dominant region as far as the testing is concerned, Asia Pacific has a very significant rate of adoption as well. So it did contribute almost 26% of the market revenue, and it does have a highest degree of proliferation of the technology, led primarily by South Korea, Singapore, and China. So Europe is lagging behind a little bit, contributing only 17.5% market share, but it is expected to ramp up in 2016. So Swedish network operator Tele2 made substantial progress in VoLTE, and a few months ago, Telenor Sweden deployed Ericsson IMS for Wi-Fi calling and communication services. So in 2016, we do expect more VoLTE services being deployed globally, and it will continue being a significant trend, offering many opportunities to communication service providers as well as test equipment vendors, as more test and monitoring solutions will be needed in order to ensure positive customer experience.
Well, do you want to, if you could pull out one big prediction for next year on the VoLTE test and measurement side, what do you think is going to move the needle, or what do you think is truly should catch people's attention for next year?
There will be more deployments globally, and some of the opinions that I heard that VoLTE still doesn't work as good as it should. And so test equipment will be number one, the most crucial thing in order to deliver positive customer experience to their customers and for communication service providers.
Well, the carriers are challenged right now. They just finished their LTE deployment. Now they're focused on densifying their network at the same time, trying to roll out applications like VoLTE. Let's talk about HetNet for a minute, and let's frame the market. Tell us how Frost Sullivan views the HetNet test and measurement market.
So the deployment of VoLTE would, without any doubt, increase the heterogeneous nature of the network infrastructure. We all know that networks are never the same, and each network environment is very unique. So each service provider, excuse me, each service provider network will include densely populated metro area that requires different public and business services, as well as rural area with a small population. And excuse me.
Okay. So on the HetNet side, I'm curious if you're looking at it. We see HetNet really being driven by the customer demand for ubiquitous access to mobile video and mobile data, which is not the same as looking for a VoLTE service. Most consumers don't really care where their voice is coming from, whether it's traditional or VoLTE, and we see HetNet really being driven by mobile data demand and mobile video demand. How do you view the HetNet market? Is it really, from your standpoint, is it driven, the test and measurement market being driven by VoLTE, or is it really driven by just being able to give customers high quality customer experience for mobile data?
It is the second.
Okay.
Communication service providers have to deal with the increase in exploding mobile data traffic, and they have to provide continuous coverage. So HetNet is a necessity that came about, and it is inevitable. And so some of the greatest benefits that HetNets are offering is VoLTE, as I talked about, video conferencing and the unified communications, also increased access to cloud-based services, and also international roaming, which is a really big benefit and challenge at the moment. So prior to 2014, HetNet market was primarily in the trial phase. And there was a number of HetNet and small cell deployment taking place in 2014 and in 2015, and this trend will continue in 2016 because the service providers have to deal with mobile data. And according to our latest research on the global HetNet test equipment market, we see that market exceeded a 1.8 million mark in 2014. In 2016, we expect this market to generate a 2.4 billion in revenue and grow at almost 15% from 2015. So the market is pretty much expected to double in 2021, growing with a CAGR of 12.4% from 2014 to 2021.
Right.
So
you see, this is for 2014, and you've got the pie, principally lab-based test equipment versus field test in 2015, and then in 2016. Do you see a material change in this, or do you still see it being mostly lab-focused test equipment?
It will slightly move towards field-based test equipment. However, it will be a gradual move. But we see the market grows pretty fast, so I think maybe in about 3 to 4 years, you will see more revenue shifted, significantly more visible revenue shifted towards field-based test equipment.
Okay. And when you look at field-based versus lab test equipment, can you give us some examples of what type of equipment you're talking about?
So the lab-based test equipment, that would be systems that are used in at the R&D stage by network equipment manufacturers, for instance. The field-based test equipment, it will be handheld solutions that are used on the field after the network has been deployed. So.
And who are some of the major vendors you put in these categories? I know they're probably all your customers, but I am curious, who are some of the major players in both these two categories?
So we have Rohde & Schwarz, we have Anritsu, Keysight Technology.
Okay, good. Yep. Do you want to move on into the SON testing?
Absolutely.
So, I have heard that SON 2016 could be the year for material SON deployments. Let's start with how you define SON, and then what the test equipment looks like underneath SON.
Okay. So I will just share some data from our most recent SON test and monitoring equipment market research. The way we segment in this market, we're looking at the network infrastructure testing, and that segment consists of the equipment that enables complete end-to-end testing of network elements, probe-based network monitoring systems. Those are the service assurance systems that are basically inserted into the network plane to monitor quality of experience, quality of service, as well as other key performance indicators. So this consists of solutions that passively or actively monitor the network. Probe-agnostic network analysis and optimization. So this category includes solutions that are used to monitor quality of experience, quality of service, and KPIs through the use of call traces and mobile measurement reports, and drive test. And those are the handheld, portable equipment used to perform network diagnostics and troubleshooting. Also, they also include benchmarking as well as network optimization. So the major trends that are expected to positively influence the SON testing and monitoring market include the adoption of LTE and the expected 5G deployments, incorporation of SON capabilities into legacy-based network infrastructure, enhanced customer experience management, and I guess not to mention the adoption of SON technology as well. On the other hand, however, there is a certain degree of resistance among network operators community in adopting a fully fledged network automation technology that would mean completely surrendering control capabilities of the network. So, and one of the other challenges that SON presents is incorporation of it into legacy-based network, which are relatively well established, and so it's a bit disruptive for the community at the moment. And if we look at some market data for SON test and monitoring equipment, so while SON industry as a whole generated $3.6 billion in 2014, SON specific test equipment across all segments generated $865.5 million in 2014. So in 2016, we estimate this revenue to exceed $1.1 billion. And by 2019, this market is expected to reach $1.8 billion, basically due to more SON adoption taking place.
So what's the pain point for carriers to adopt SON? What's going to be the catalyst for them to actually move forward with kind of automated networks? It's the convenience of it. It's a convenience of it. As I mentioned earlier, it is very difficult for them to lose control over their networks, and I guess this is a general fear. And as any new network, any new technology, as it comes about, there's fears. They require a new set of test equipment. They have to redo something that works. Right. So this is basically. Okay. Well, let's talk about M&A activity. Move on, and because it has been, test and measurement has been a very active segment from mergers and acquisition standpoint. Walk us through, what drove some of these and some of the acquisitions that jump out as really important to you.
Right. So now it wasn't just for test and measurement. There was a number of acquisitions across the entire product life cycle. Chipset manufacturers, service providers, communication service providers. But the 2013, 2014 were probably the biggest year for the communications test and measurement community as far as the acquisitions. I think this trend will continue because if we look at the total test equipment market, about 50% of it, a little bit more than 50, is not dominated by key tier one top players such as Andritzer, Rohde & Schwarz, and Keysight Technology. So there is room to grow, and as this general trend in test equipment generating from communication service providers towards product and feature integration, I think I think partnerships and acquisitions are inevitable. And if you look at some of the acquisitions that took place, several of those companies had been already in partnerships with each other prior to the actual acquisition.
So with NFV being another big topic, software-defined networks and cloud coming into play, do you see, or does Frost Sullivan expect to add maybe some test and measurement companies that are traditional IT cloud-based testing companies to your mix of coverage, or do you see the existing players being able to stretch into kind of cloud service and monitoring?
I think it will be a combination of both. I think I see that there's no such a thing as a traditional test equipment company anymore. And as we were talking to you about, let's look at Tektronix Communications acquiring Arantic, when test and measurement pretty much merged with service assurance. So we see Airflex, now Cobham Wireless acquiring Shenik, and gaining the capabilities in virtualized IP testing.
Right.
So I think there is room for new players, and I think it will be a combination of things.
Good. Well, any other final comments for 2016 that you want me kind of opine about or predict for next year? Things that might surprise people?
Right. I think it will be a busy year. There's a lot going on the IoT side of things, on virtualization, software-defined networking.
Right.
VoLTE is going to play a crucial role for the communication service providers, and it will provide a lot of opportunities for test equipment vendors. HetNets, with the LTE small cell deployments on the rise, HetNets will be very prominent, and because it's just service providers have to provide coverage.
Right. Period. And they got to provide good service.
Yep.
High quality, reliable service. Well, thank you for joining us today. Olga, coming up from San Antonio to our studio here in Austin, Texas. Thank you. Next up, we've got Jake McLeod, who is going to talk a bit about network technology, and he'll be interviewed by Martha DeGrasse, so stay tuned for a few minutes. Olga, thanks again for joining us today.
Thank you.